Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I don't know what the number is, but I'm going to take a guess and say it's very high, the number of times that we have negative thoughts during the day. Just those quick fleeting thoughts that pop in your mind and how you deal with them. It's got to be hundreds that we're probably not even aware of. Like quickly, things just pop in. They're all negative. How do you challenge those negative thoughts? How do you turn them into a positive? Because that's really what you want to do to move your life forward. And she helps a lot of people do that as a life coach, a speaker. She's also a licensed massage therapist. So she's got a physical and medical background. She's also a cancer survivor, and she's fantastic. And she's back with us. Patti McGee is on the program. Hi, Patti. How are you?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thanks for having me on. This has been, such a blessing to be able to just give people information that maybe they weren't aware of.
Sure.
And to just take, and filter out what they need and use it to their benefit.
And that negative thought thing, I don't know if I have this right, but I always hear that we think a lot of times negatively because we've evolved to protect ourselves. Our mind, our body, the core is there to protect. So the negative comes up as a block. It's your subconscious saying, whoa, wait a minute. I'm taking care of you. Wait, I'm thinking negative. Same thing. Like, for example, somebody walks down the street. They're from a different culture. Right away, you might think, weird, different, weird. Whoa, warning. And they've done research on that, we flip into that mode and they're the same as us. There's probably no difference except they're wearing different clothes, whatever it might be. But because they are different, we instinctively switch into a quick negative thought that be on guard for that moment. Just one example. When those negative thoughts pop into our head, how do we challenge them? How do we turn it around?
Well, I want to go back to the different cultures for a second. We try to suppress cultures. Okay. But think about it. They've all been around. We've all been around over 2,000 years. Totally. Why can we not accept them? And it's because, and I'm going to say this, the media portrays so much negativity. Okay. I mean, from the evolution of the TV, from radio, my grandparents, your grandparents, great parents had to sit in front of a radio and listen about the war. There were funny comedians on and all of that. And they tried to keep it humorous so that you didn't have that knock on the door that came from the military wondering if it was your son that wasn't coming home, right? And now we have everything in front of us. The media, I mean, how many personalities on the media have been fired for not portraying the truth? Okay. And I know they're under a lot of pressure to do whatever, but it still doesn't make it right for us. So our mind is filled with all these fears and anxieties and tensions and resentments and guilts that we've grown up with. And we have to master them. And this is very near and dear to me because I took every word that people said to me to heart. Okay. My dad,
Same.
We went on a 3-hour car ride to take my grandmother somewhere. And we got back. I heard my mom say, "How was it?" He goes, "It was boring. She doesn't talk." I took that as I was boring. So I misinterpreted the conversation and I took it internally and held on to it. So his words to me, I always held on to. No daughter of mine will do this, and I allowed that throughout my life. So I've had to rework all of these negative thoughts, and we get millions of thoughts every second. We can't filter them all out all at the same time, but it's what you're looking at, because the world's a beautiful place. If you really look at it, it's a beautiful place. So
what you just said it. I had this conversation with my daughter yesterday, and she's 15, like many teenage girls having challenges. And I said, in our conversation about a bunch of other things, I said, if I ever said anything to you in the past and it was just dad fooling around, just joking about things, and maybe you took it deeper where you thought it was serious, I said, I'm sorry. I was just goofing off with you. And now I realize that it could make a difference in the way you think.
Yeah.
And I just wanted her to know that, exactly what you said, because in my journey, I've learned the things that you learned. I wish every parent knew these things, back in the day, so that,
Yes.
so we can act and react accordingly, with our kids, because there's just little goofy comments, just having fun, dad joke, whatever, could be taken more seriously and then carried
Yeah.
for life.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we internalize it, then we start distorting it. We see
Right.
something else or somebody else says something and like, well, wow, that confirms what my dad just said. Maybe I am,
Right.
and
Mm.
we've got to learn not to take that on. And especially your daughter in high school, she's in the toughest spot ever because people
Yeah.
are mean at this age, you know.
Yeah.
It's just brutal. And, it's worse than when we were in school.
Oh, totally.
And
Oh,
so,
there's a mental health crisis going on, uh,
yeah.
in general, but teenage girls is, number one cell of that. I think we talked about that before.
Yes, we
Why
did.
isn't it, why not teenage boys? Social media. They don't spend as much time as girls do on there.
They're struggling. I don't think they report it as much.
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
see it a lot, especially in gamers and stuff like that
Mm,
don't have the um the love and kindness in their lives that they've taken that somebody else has said against them. So, but what they need to
yeah.
learn to do is to question the evidence, examine it. Is it a truth? We got to teach our kids to separate the truth from the lie and be able to stand on their own. And even us too, as adults, like you said, we carry it sometimes. I mean, I've carried most of it till I was 50 years old. These last 10 years were the most beautiful of my life because I'm like, this crap's gone.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And what you said, so important, Patty, in that, those little things that you might have heard as a kid, you hear other things around you that may be related to it, and then it makes it real. It validates the wrong, the negativity, those other things that you're exposed to. Let's say, you're carrying a comment that you heard from your parents, and then somebody else bullies you and says something that's similar to the comment, subconsciously. Oh, yeah, well, I guess that is true. There's more evidence of it.
yep. Yeah. And, you really got to consider looking at how it's explained to you. How are you interpreting it?
Hmm.
And then coming back to your parents or your teacher or whoever it is that's saying this to you and saying, did I hear this correctly?
Right.
You know,
And you might
it,
not even know if it's something that's buried inside of you from a comment that was made so long ago. You might not even know that is affecting you along with the other stuff that you're experiencing. Same thing on social media.
yeah, yeah.
How about the negative thoughts that pop in your head? Um, how do you flip them around into a positive?
I really think we need to do more meditation. We've got to teach people how to meditate and
Mm,
learn to clear that mind and breathe properly so that we can really sort it out, you
mm,
know, because there's manipulative people out there, narcissistic people out there, um, and they will keep pushing you with these thoughts, the bullying that goes on. So if you can calm them and get them internal
mm.
so that you can separate that truth, then you can stand up to it. Okay? Because sometimes it's ourselves. We can be the biggest bully to ourselves.
Sure.
Is look, I made another mistake. I did this, I did that. Some of us don't like if we haven't had discipline throughout our life. Like my parents didn't discipline us. They were never home.
Mm.
So now when someone tries to challenge any one of my siblings and me, we get defensive.
I got to think about that. Yeah, I never thought of it. Never thought of it that way. Um, yeah,
you know, we
that's
don't want that. We get, you sit up straighter and you're like, you stop talking because you don't want to hear it. You don't want, you're like, what do you mean you're going to challenge what, because we've
hmm.
never had to go through it. as kids.
Interesting. And I love the meditation thought. Even if you
Yeah.
just take time to think and process something,
Yeah.
because so many of us, when we're being challenged, there's all those thoughts racing around in your head. What if this? How about that? Oh, we got that going on. Oh, wait a minute over there. I just texted with a friend before who is starting a new job. She's had a lot of stuff going on in her life. And I know right away that maybe something was up. And I just texted, I said, "You okay?" And she starts a job on Monday. And she's like, "Yeah, I think so. I just have a lot going on. I'm thinking about the new job and everything. And she has to be trained for it and all of that." I said, "Don't worry about it. The expectations are you're new. They expect you to need to be trained and figure out a system and how things work. They love you. They gave you more money when you asked for it, met you halfway. They even gave you so many kind words. They want you. Don't worry about it." And I said, instead of looking at it that way, now flip it around that you don't have to worry so much about money. And then that was the big challenge,
Yeah.
because now you've got that taken care of. And look at it as exciting. You're going to learn something new and work with new people. And it's all a win. There's a win right there. But
Yeah.
she, like many of us, take it and we look at it in a different direction, just like, oh boy, how am I going to deal with that? What do you got to lose?
We look at it as a failure
Yeah, before you even failed.
before we even start.
Yeah, you're right.
You know? And
Yeah.
that's why most businesses, entrepreneurs don't succeed, is because we can't get past that. What if I fail?
Mm, yep. And it's
You
real.
know,
I get it.
it,
Totally understand.
it's total. I've read a book called The Magic of Thinking Big. I can't think of the author, but in there he says successful people let go of all this negativity. They've
Hmm.
learned what if you say something to me, it's like, okay, that's your opinion. Thank you very much. And they move through the door. Unsuccessful people to internalize it and worry about it and stress over it and figure out how they're going to fix it.
It's so true.
Yep.
And
And
we think that we're doing ourselves justice by overthinking it. Like, I've got all the bases covered. If that happens, I got that. If that happens, with maybe investment, new job, whatever, I got that covered. What if that happens? Just do it. What do you got to lose? Even in her situation, if the job doesn't work out, it may not be what you want. You may start it and not really feeling it. There'll be another one. Don't worry, it's coming.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, it'll be there. And you got to trust yourself. And that's the hard part when all these negative thoughts come up.
And all that negativity that was that you experienced from the past that comes up.
Yeah. And we have to replace irrational thoughts with rational thoughts. Once you challenge them, focus on the positive aspects of it, the strengths,
Yep.
and where can you go to get more support from people. Who do you have in your circle? There's a saying out there that if you're the smartest person out of your top 5 people, then you need to find 5 more people. Because are you dumbing yourself down to fit in? And that causes a lot of negativity inside.
And because you feel like you're not truly part of the group. You feel, but you can't put your finger on it. Just something doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is. That there's also, it's been said that you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you take a look at who these people are and just think like, wow, that's me. I'm them. Are you happy with that?
Right. And when you're hanging out in the bar versus going and doing what's really on your heart, and that was me. I went to the bar every day after work because I felt comfortable. In reality, I wanted to be a life coach. I wanted to do more. I wanted to do bigger things, be a speaker. And nobody in that circle was going to become a life coach or a speaker. They just weren't. They were slurring their words,
Right.
And so when I stepped out, it was one of the hardest things I ever did. Because, people walk out of your life, and that's something you have to learn to handle. When you start improving yourself and moving up and up and up, it gets lonelier and lonelier and lonelier.
I got you there. And it's true, because it's your energetic vibration. And maybe it might come off to other people. Oh, look at that one now, I have an ego. No, you've just elevated yourself.
Yeah.
You're moving forward. They're kind of still stuck there. Somebody said to me in my journey, about a year and a half, a little bit more than a year and a half ago. Because I said, things are changing here, and these people that I was connected with, well, I'm not close with them anymore, and just like, what's going on here? And she said, well, those people don't serve you anymore.
Yeah.
And I took it in a different way. I was like, I'm humble. I was like, don't serve me. Like, what do you mean? Like servants serve me. And then I thought about it. I was like, yeah, they just don't fit. They don't fit anymore, because I've changed for the better, I believe. I'm moving in a direction. They're just hanging out over here, served its purpose. Like they say, in your life for a season or a reason.
Yeah. Lisa Nichols, she's a huge motivational speaker. She talks that not everybody's meant to go through the door with you. You just gotta, it's your doorway. It's not anybody else's. But it's hard, especially like when it's family. You want them to come along. You want them to support you. You want to be able to talk about it. If they don't have that desire, you can't force it.
No. No. And you have to have the strength to let go of them so you can walk through the door.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you can't wave to them on the other side.
But it doesn't mean you can't go back and get them once you've reached your success either.
That's true. If they want to come along.
That's one of the things I had to work on with my life coach in building this practice, because she said, Patti, you can go back and help them later, because I wanted to offer things for the people that really couldn't afford my pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, you can't do that right now. Right now, you have to focus on you and your dream and what you want to do. And you can go back later and get them.
Do you ever, Patti, look at the people that are or were in your life and identify that they were there for a reason?
So absolutely.
Me too.
Absolutely. My personal trainer, she was one of the first people I met when I quit drinking 10 years ago. Actually, it was 10 years ago yesterday. And I can't say quit. I have a couple of drinks here and there now, but she was my personal trainer. And I traded one addiction for another. So I went from not drinking every day to working out and hanging out with her all the time. Well, as it grew, we started partying, but I couldn't let go because I was codependent. She was codependent on each other.
Mm.
So when it did fall apart, we both went our separate ways, and we both struggled with it because of it. So, but she was meant to only be there for a season, and I was trying to keep her there for the long term.
Yep.
And I learned a huge lesson there. Huge lesson.
You just made something come even clearer for me. I was involved with somebody for maybe 8 months and needed radiation. And she's a nurse. And she helped me through all of that, pain management and all of that going on. And then, things kind of, went their own way, and we didn't fit each other's lives, and we never knew it was ever going to be anything, long term. And recently I started talking to her again. I do marketing, and now I'm helping her with her marketing she loves horses, and she's combining therapy. So all of that together, and I'm just giving her ideas.
Yep.
And it's like, so she helped me then, now I'm helping her. So we kind of, it's funny how that all works. When you think of it, you have to be mindful of it to put the pieces together.
And as long as you're healthy enough to realize what the relationship is.
Oh yeah. Oh, I got it.
One's not more than another, expecting something else, because a lot of times people will do that to you,
Right.
They'll think it's one thing, and you're just like, I'm just here to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. And our situation is totally clear. And it's not like it's, a lot of work for me, because that's what my brain works. Like she was
Yeah.
looking for slogans to, position her business, new business. And I'm like, yeah, what about this? What about, oh, I didn't even think of that. Okay, great. Yep, no problem. All right.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of the same thing for me, when she walks through the door and I have, bandages on me and she's like, no, these are not done right. You should be using this. I'm like, oh, that feels better. Okay, great. So it's like, yeah, people
Yeah.
help each other, but you never know how it's going to go. We
don't.
can't forecast the future. When I met her in a I think September of one year, little did I know, fast forward months past that I would be, getting some radiation. I had no idea.
And I think we're seeing that in marriages today. A lot of people complain that people aren't staying married, they aren't this and that. But decades ago, you married and you made your bed, you lay in it, and you stay in it until you die.
Yep.
Which causes all this disease, this pain, this whatever, because you didn't know the person when you were 15, 16, 17, 18 that well. And now people are like, okay, we're not gonna, not that they don't want to be married, but they're not going to stay in it if it doesn't fit.
Agreed, but I do believe the majority of marriages don't fit because one or both have things going on from their past.
Yes.
And they always did, and they carried it with them. And after a period of time, then the real them started surfacing a little bit more and more. And I'm not saying there was bad things, but they were dealing with stuff from way back and they still haven't healed from it. And it's, the stuff we're talking about is the stuff you help people heal from.
Exactly.
It's exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah. I've been single for 30 years now. And people are like, well, why? What's wrong with you? And I didn't love myself. So how can I? And I recognize that, when I got the breast cancer and, I had my son at 29 and I knew I wasn't in love with his father. So we parted ways. We weren't married. And then I got breast cancer 10 years later. And then I got, so after I went through chemo and radiation, I knew I had to work on myself. And it's taken me 20 years. And now I'm finally ready to date somebody again.
Sure. Good for you.
I couldn't drag somebody else through that. I had a gentleman 10 years ago tell me he loved me, but I couldn't bring him on the journey because I was quitting drinking and I was changing and I didn't know where it was going. But I had the foresight to see that, to understand that there was something going on inside of me and you can't come along because you got your own stuff.
Yep.
And I don't know where this is going.
Hey, you're dealing with enough yourself, they're not ready to come along so they can deal with you and you deal with them. But one thing I'm sure is sure that you know what you want now.
Oh, absolutely.
Same.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially being sober and going into a relationship sober. I've never been in one sober, so I didn't know anything different.
Interesting.
You met at the bar, you drank, you slept together, and you went on your merry way,
Right.
And
I'll meet you back there tomorrow night at 8.
I'll meet you next, well, it was every other Saturday night because he had a kid. And, but so I've never had that. My dad was never put his arms around me, loved me when he was younger, when I was little. So I never had that. So I had to work through all of the stuff that we've talked about these last 6-7 weeks. And, and that's what I feel makes me a good life coach.
I agree.
Is because I've experienced it and I've done the hard work. I've done the spiritual work, the mind, the body, the spirit to bring health and healing to people, through the energy. And it's not one way. Like there's a lot of people are, it's just this way. That's it. I'm going to help you, I have so many tools that I can pull from, if you're a Christian, I got Christian tools. If you're not, if you like Reiki, I know Reiki, I was a level 2 Reiki healer. I know essential oils, you name it, I believe in yoga. So there's so much out there. I know about supplements and that's you want to be well-rounded.
Yes. Because they're all connected. If you're not eating healthy properly or getting enough exercise, your mindset, you're not going to be on point to live your best life.
Right.
And it's this is nothing new, but it is the reality of things,
And that's the last point, is to seek support.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as a life coach, or it can be, through the medical profession. But don't sit in these negative thoughts, because that's what's causing disease and illness.
Yeah, it is. It brings it on. And it's almost like the proverbial snowball down the hill. If you're just in the mode of negative, the snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it just, then it challenges your health.
Yeah.
And that's where you have problems. What's your website, Patti?
My website is thehydratedlife.net, and I just released yesterday 5 Steps to Inner Healing ebook. It's free.
Oh, wow.
So, yep. Go to my website and they can pick it up for free.
And anybody that says they don't need that book and they don't need to do any inner healing, you're lying to yourself.
Absolutely.
We know it's, and all of this is proven. We're not making it up. This is not woo-woo stuff. That's the reality. If you're doing certain things and you don't know why you're doing them, you're trying to figure, you got to heal from stuff. There's stuff going on. You need to unpack it. I call it the backpack, the emotional backpack. Patti will help you unzip it and go through what's in there. What is this? Okay, we're going to work on that. And what's that over there?
And it's actually can be fun. I mean, there's some trying times, but in the end, when you're smiling and you can go outside and you can stand in front of people and you can just be authentically you, there's nothing more beautiful.
But there isn't. I call it quiet calm. When you get that, like, things are okay. I can handle it. I'm good. I'm good. It's all right.
It's not that things don't come back up, but then you have the tools to work through it, to overcome the negative thinking. I can go into meditation in 2 seconds. Oh, wow. Okay. Yep. Let's do that. And, or I can go for a walk, or I can, I'm very proud that I didn't use medication. I sat in it. I sat in the anxiety and the mess and it's not that the medicines are bad. I'm not saying that.
Sure.
But I knew what I was dealing with.
Right.
And I knew that I had to get it out of me. I didn't need to suppress it. I needed to get it out.
Once you have that awareness, there it all begins. That's like the plane on the runway ready for takeoff to the new you. Patti, always great talking with you. And your insight's fantastic. And that's part of all the tools that you have. Yeah.
So, well, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. I'm grateful for every time we get together, and look forward next time.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.